Alright guys, so we're going to go over how to use the KennedyPine Capital's valuation model. So there's three main components to the model, right? There's an annual analysis, that's what we're looking at here. It just shows you the sales, income, expense analysis, profitability, book value, and business trends if you really want to do a deep dive. Alright, but for now we're going to just focus on the financial statements. So we'll look at income statement, balance sheet, and the cash flow statement, right? So the next tab is the quarterly analysis tab. This tab we won't really do too much work on. Again, this is if you're trying to do a deep dive. For the purposes of this, we're just going to focus on the annual analysis. And here's our valuation table. This is really the cream of the crop. This is where you're going to find out what the company should be worth. You see right here we have different valuation methods. So this is the price to sales multiple. This is the enterprise value to EBITDA method. This is the price to earnings method. And then this is just your basic discounted cash flow calculation. So there's four different methods here, right? Based on all the data that we put in, the table is going to go ahead and calculate all the multiples for us. So it'll calculate the price to sales multiple, the EV to EBITDA multiple, right? I'll actually put multiple here. Price to earnings multiple, right? And it will help us calculate a discounted cash flow value for the following years. And then here we have our 3-year forecast. This will populate and kind of give us a forecast for the stock for the next 3 years based on everything we do over here. And the last part of this is just our price data. So this is going to be the monthly closing prices, right? So this is 12 rows. It's going to be the monthly closing prices for the stock we're going to look at, right? And this is how the model is going to actually calculate the multiples. It's going to compare the closing prices to the financials for 2017, 2018, 2019, right? So we're going to have to import some closing prices here. And our import tab is here. This is where we're going to actually import all of our financial data. Right, so here's the tables. So I won't get too much into this. Let's just start up, right? So the company I want to do today is a company I've been meaning to work on, Upwork. All right, so step number one, right? The first thing you want to do is you want to import your prices, your historical data for the stock you're looking at. So the way you do that is you go to Yahoo Finance. And remember, you need to find the closing prices, the month-end closing prices for the past 3 years. Now, Upwork, I don't believe Upwork's been public for that long. So you will run into this issue sometimes, but it doesn't really matter because all you're looking at is the monthly closing prices. So you'll go over the historical data. And you might have to just bear with me a little bit. This computer's a little slow, but we'll get there. All right. So you want to click on your historical data, right? And what you want to do is we're looking for monthly. So the frequency should be monthly. Then you want your time period, right? So based on the model, we're looking for 2017 first, then 2018. Now Upwork, I believe they went public in 2018, so we'll look for 2018 data. So I'll actually just go ahead and do the full year from January 2018 to December 2018. This way you'll get 12 months of closing prices. I'm not sure when Upwork went public in 2018, but we're going to find out. Okay, so seems like they were not public in January. Okay, let's try that. So we've got monthly, we've got January 31st, 2018 to December 30th, 2018. Now typically you want this to be the all 12 months, so from January all the way to December, 12 months of closing prices, but this is what we actually got. So I believe Upwork went public in October of 2018 because they don't have any more data before that, any more trading data. So what you want to do is you're going to go ahead and copy only the data, not the table headings or anything, just the data, because the model is built for you to kind of just copy and paste into here. So 2018, and now we're looking at the last 3 months of 2018. So these would be the last 3 months here, right? So this is January, it starts at January here, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. And then you want to just paste into here, right? And now we're going to go find 2019's data, right? So we'll look at the closing prices for 2019. Monthly frequency. And here we go, right? So now we have a full, actually, wait a minute, this should say January 1st. Now remember, you always want to get 12 months of trading data for each year, right? So there we go, January to December. So same thing, we're just going to go ahead and copy all the data. Just be careful when you're copying because all you want is these rows. You don't want to copy anything else. Like you don't want to copy this bottom piece here because it'll screw up the data. So you want to just grab those 12 rows and you want to go ahead and drop it into the full year for 2019, right? And there's all your trading data, right? And this is the open, the high, the low, the close, all this stuff, right? So that's step one. Now step two, you want to import your financials. So we're going to go over to our annual import, right? And now this annual import, all we're going to do here is we're going to look to import our income statement. We're going to look to import our balance sheet and some data from our cash flow statement. Now keep in mind, there's a lot of items on these financial statements, but the model kind of filters to look for specific line items that we think are the most important to valuing the company. So let's go right over to SEC's website, and this is where we use, this is the database we use to pull all our financials, right? So SEC Edgar, company search. Now what you want to do is you want to search for the ticker. Search for the ticker. So now this database has all the filings, all the SEC filings that Upwork has filed since they've been public. Now what we look at, we want to look at the 10Ks only, right? So you want to type in 10K. And here you go, right? So you got 10K here and a 10K there. So this is the most recent 10K they filed in March 2020, which means this is their 2019 full year financial statement, and this one would be their 2018 full year financial statement, right? Because they filed it in 2020. So you want to click on interactive data. Now the way that all this information is kind of displayed is in a way to help financial analysts or investors to kind of easily extract the data, right? So you want to go to financial statements and you want to find the income statement, right? Or the statement of operations, same thing. So here we go, statement of operations, and there's your table, right? So this is what we're going to be importing. All you want to do is copy the table, right? So we've got 2019, 18, and 17. What you want to do is copy the table, and you're going to just drop it. See where it says import to cell B2. It's the first cell here, and you just import. You just paste it, and there you go, right? So now keep in mind, these three rows, these three columns, I should say, are 2019, 18, and 17, right? Even though this is kind of screwed up here, right? We know that based on the table we just imported, we can even double check, right? 2019 they had 300,000 in revenue, 200,000 in 2017, and we can check that and make sure that it matches up with our template here, right? So this stuff you don't really need. It's just going to confuse you. Right? And you could actually go ahead and just remove the hyperlink from this. Okay. So now if you look, some of this data has already been filled, right? See that? Based on the words here, right? So this says sales and marketing. Sales and marketing is right here. If I actually change this to sales alone, right, you see the data disappears. But the way the model works is it's a matching function. So you just want to match the words, right? Match the words here to the words here, and it'll automatically pull the data right across for you, right, into our table here, which is kind of what we're using, right? So now these words were kind of already here. I was already doing this model, so that's why everything matched up perfectly. But in the instance that, let's say, what is this? So you also want to pay attention to this guide, right? This guide is based on the information that the model is looking for, right? So some company might call revenue, they might call it sales, right? And you won't get a pull. The data, it won't match, right? So you just got to make sure that you're putting the right words there, right? Sales, revenue, same thing, right? The whole point is you want to follow this guide. For each of these lines, right, for each row, this is the information that you're looking for. The revenue, gross profit, income from operations, net income, and so on, right? Some companies might not even give you the gross profit. You might actually have to, you might actually have to do the math to find out what their gross profit is, right? They might only tell you cost of sales or something like that, right? Which in that case, you might actually have to just put their gross profit here manually, right? Because there is no gross profit line item. You understand? So it's not always going to be perfect, but the point is you import your data here, you do a little bit of analyzing and double checking to make sure that everything fits within this guide, right? And all the data matches up for each year, right? So now we'll go ahead and import our balance sheet. So balance sheet, right? And if you notice, right, for the balance sheet, we only have 2 years. We don't have 2017. So we're going to have to actually look at the previous 10K to get the 2017 year. But for now, we'll just copy this. And we'll go ahead and import it. Same place, right here. Right? Just remove these hyperlinks. Right? And now we should see some of our balance sheet items, as long as these words match what's over here, right? So first word I have is cash and cash equivalents, right? And that's here. So that should pull this right across, which it did, right? But not for 2017. right? So let's, okay, and you always want to follow this guide, right? So we've got our cash, we've got our current assets, we've got our total assets, we've got our total current liabilities, we've got our long-term debt, right? Same thing as debt, non-current, and this is supposed to be owner's equity actually. So let's go over here and find our owner's equity here, right? Stockholders' equity, right? So this is the word that needs to match this line, right? This might have been just an error, so let me just paste that here, and there you go, right? And now your data changed. Go ahead and center that. Okay, so now you can go ahead and import our cash flow statement. Now for the cash flow statement, the only three things the model is looking for is our cash flow from operations, right? Or net cash provided by operating activities, same thing. Then the share-based compensation or stock-based compensation, and then your depreciation expense, right? So these are the three things we're looking for in the cash flow statement. So we'll open up our cash flow statement here. Statement of cash flows. All right, now we've got all 3 years, so same thing. We'll just copy the top part of this statement, right? We don't need the entire thing. All we need is the top part that ends in net cash provided by operating activities, right? That's all the model's looking for. Everything in this top part of the table. Now you could look at the full statement if you like. You could import the full statement if you're doing a deep dive. For the purposes of this video, we'll keep it simple. Alright, so this data pulled, right? Because these words match what's on the statement. And it won't always match up like that. Like I said, I was previously doing this model, so the words already match. If they don't match, all you got to do is match the words, right? It's not rocket science. Delete that. Right, so now we have our cash flow items, right? We have our balance sheet items. Well, not for 2017. We're going to go get that now. And we have our income statement items, right? Now, for the income statement, just keep in mind that depending on the company you're working on, items may be different. You know, different companies call different line items by a different name, right? So that's why it's important to kind of make sure you're keeping a track of this guide and what the guide is looking for, right? Sales and marketing, some companies might not have that, right? General and administrative, and development expense, right? Or research and development, same thing, right? Now, if you come across an instance where, you know, a company doesn't have sales and marketing, and maybe they have something like product development, or you know, companies have different line items. All you have to do is, right, change this guide, right? So if you're looking at, let's say this top line is no longer sales and marketing, and this top line is just product development. So you put product development, right, because this is their expense. You change that to product development, right, and so on and so forth. And then you want to come over to the annual analysis tab, and product development, right, should be here, right? So this says sales and marketing. This is pulling from here. Alright, so if you're going to change it to product development, you want to just make sure you change this to product development as well as this, right? This is the expense table, right? That's why everything on the import tab is spaced out, right? So this part, this top part here is the sales and income. Then there's a space, and then you've got these 3 line items here, which is the expense table, right? This here is just your earnings per share, right? This will go actually with these items, so I could actually put that up there, right? But for now, let's just go through this, right? So, and then this is your shares outstanding, right? This is your shares outstanding, right? And keep in mind that your shares outstanding number will be the only number that's on here that is not in dollar amount, right? This is just a number. It's a numerical number. It's not a dollar amount. So you just want to be careful of that, right? I'll actually change this back to sales and marketing, right? And you just always want to make sure that your guide right here matches whatever is on your annual analysis tab. So for expense, I can see that this already doesn't match, right? I have sales, G&A, and interest expense. This should actually be, these top 3 here should be the same as these 3, right? So I'll just go ahead and copy that, sales and marketing, G&A, and development expense. Right? So development expense, and there's always going to be this one last item on the expense table for share-based expense or a stock-based expense, right? Which you get from the cash flow statement. Import tab, right? So your balance sheet items, right? These items all pull the balance sheet table, right? So here's your book value. We don't have 2017 yet, remember? The 2018 and 2019 has pulled, right? We've got our shares outstanding from the income statement. And you can see that the graph is already populated, right? Without 2017, obviously, we'll get that. But just to show you guys that all of this data is pulling right into these tables, right? Where you're going to do your analysis and you're going to look at the trends, right? So we can see here that based on their sales table, right? They have nice trends in what is this, revenue and gross profit, right? And keep in mind, guys, everything in orange is what you want to edit, right? Everything else that's in gray is a calculated cell. You don't have to touch those. So you only input data into these orange cells, right? Okay, so let's actually go ahead and get that 2017 balance sheet. Where are we at here? All right, so we'll have to go back and find the 2017 balance sheet. So 10K. All right, so this is your 2018 10K, right? So we'll look for their balance sheet, and here we go, 2017 balance sheet, right? Go ahead and copy this. Now, what I would recommend sometimes is, what I guarantee you will happen here is that I'm going to import this table, and it probably will not align with the last balance sheet table we imported, right? So if I actually just try to copy and paste this entire 2017 table, right, the 2017 balance sheet, if I try to actually just drop that into here, a lot of times what will happen is that it won't format because companies change their line items, right? That's why this kind of takes a little bit of analyzing and a little bit of double checking, because companies change their line items all the time, right? I guarantee you this probably won't line up. Right? So some items seem to line up, but we can see already that, right, this doesn't fully align perfectly, right? So what you want to do when this happens is, remember, we're only looking for a few items, right? We're only looking for these items from the balance sheet. So all we really want is the cash from 2017, right, which we can easily grab here, and you drop it in. Right, just make sure it's the right row. Be careful with that. Here's the cash. We need our current assets, right? Here's your current assets for 2017, right? So go ahead and drop that in here, right? And we need our current liabilities. Actually, we need our total assets first. Total assets is here. Right? Total assets. And we need our current liabilities. Current liabilities is here. We drop that in here. Total current liabilities. Right? Then we need our long-term debt from 2017. So we got long-term debt non-current. Got that here. Debt non-current is here. Right? And the last thing we need is our owner's equity, right? So stockholders' equity is here. Remember, this is 2017, right? Stockholders' equity. And you drop that here, right? So this we don't need anymore. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. And that should give us everything we need for 2017 balance sheet, right? There we go. Right? So now we've got all our financials pulled. Right? So now you could actually go over here and you can see that everything should be imported, right? We got a profitability table here to let you know how profitable the company is. So we could see that just from looking at this, right, the cash flow margin is getting better, right, year over year. Right? Net income hasn't been so great, right? So on and so forth, right? Book value, one of the most important things, right? You can see all our trends here, right? It's a quick way to kind of just get a glimpse of, the underlying financials, right? Okay. So the next thing you guys want to keep in mind is that all this data, right, will be displayed in thousands. So this is really 202 million, right? Because it's always going to be displayed in thousands. Now, some bigger companies will actually display their data in millions. So this could have actually been, let's say, a company like Amazon, right? This 202 could have really been 202 billion, dollars in sales, right? But most of the times, right, it'll be in the thousands. So just remember that when you're formatting all your data, that everything you're looking at, you should add 3 zeros to it, right? With the exception of the shares outstanding. And you can even see it says it right here, amounts in millions, right? Or that should actually say actual amount. Actual amount, right? Because this is actually 32 million shares, 100 million shares, right? So now what you want to do is you want to come over to your valuation table, right? And you can see that everything here populated, right? Everything populated. So we've got our 2017, numbers here, 18, 19, right? And the most important thing we want to look at here is, okay, so I can see already that this is screwed up, right? This should be a multiple, right? Similar to this. It calculated a price to sales multiple for us, right? Which is likely what we're going to use to value this business anyways. But in the case that something like this happens, right, because this should be a multiple, you just want to make sure that this formula, right, for these cells, the formula here is correct. And the formulas will always be on the side right here, right? I'll actually make this black. Alright, so this stuff I might actually have to edit a bit. This should be here. Okay, so this should actually be here. This should be enterprise value. So the enterprise value here is simple, right? It's similar to the market cap. You just adjust for cash and debt, right? Now, based on this enterprise value, you want to compare this enterprise value in 2018 to the stock price for 2018, right? And the EBITDA. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and see where it says right here. It's your enterprise value divided by your EBITDA, right? So this is your formula for the multiple, right? So that's all you've got to do. You do your enterprise value divided by the EBITDA, right? And the EBITDA should be multiplied by 1,000. Because remember, these numbers up top are actually up top are actually in, the amounts are in thousands, right? This is an actual amount, right? So this is actually 975 million. We'll drag that across.